We're live.
We are live for episode 34, Shed2Ed. Ooh la la, baby. Back to Paris, France. Gane, Sergey Spivac. I'm pumped for this main event, Steve.
Man, it should be a good one. I want to see which direction Spivac goes with this, and Cyril Gang's at a big tipping point after that embarrassing loss to, well, none other than the GOAT, John Jones. So, which way is Cyril Gane going to go? Only losing to Ngannou and Jones, but if you add Spivac to that list, is directions going down?
For sure. Did we see Cyril Gane peak already in the number one contender slot, or is he going to be around that top five to stay? And a loss right now is going to kind of push him out of that top five picture.
Especially to Spivac, yeah.
And we kind of see that. He was the last pick for me on the draft this week. A lot of uncertainty for both of us in the main event this week.
No trust at all, really.
First pick of the week, we are fading Zara dos Santos. Going to see her go from 0-3 to 0-4 this week. She's never been a favorite in the UFC.
No, she's always been a long shot in the UFC, and, she's about 10 years older and is on a losing streak, but she's facing an opponent making their debut, so it almost seems like it's going to be a bit of a trap game, but nobody's going to be surprised when she drops to 0-4.
No one's going to be surprised to see Zara Farron lose this week. Morgan Charrier on the UFC debut, heavy favorite. Is there a reason Morgan is so heavily favored this week? I grabbed him second pick, but I bought a little insurance to be safe.
Well, he's making his debut against someone else that's making their debut, so I wasn't going to go near that fight. I didn't even get to watch much on it because they're not fighting UFC fighters. This basically doesn't even feel like a UFC fight. Just another one of those Cage Warriors, LFA, or whatever you want to call it. Pick your poison.
One of these feeder
What?
leagues.
Why is he favored over the other one? I don't know yet.
Back half of my draft, that's all the big names, the big talent. Manon Fiorot going to shut down Rose's 125 debut. Cyril Gane learned how to defend a takedown. And Benoit is going to come out there and welcome to the big show. If he can beat Thiago, it's a big name, a big feather in his cap. So I'm hoping for the hype trains to come through for me on my draft this week.
Yeah, I'm kind of rooting for Benoit Saint Denis. I like him as a fighter. I like him as a guy. He's got one of the most important traits that a fighter should have, which is just work ethic. He just is relentless. He's working his cardio, he's working his striking, and he's working his ground game. He's a black belt in judo, and he's a brown belt so far in BJJ, and he's not going to stop there. Thiago Moises, black belt in BJJ. He's going to be a stylistically different matchup for him. They might get caught up on the ground game a bit and kind of waste a lot of time there. We'll see if Benoit ends up on top or is on the bottom of those exchanges. But he looks good. He's a submission threat either from the top or the bottom anyways. So I'm looking forward to see what Benoit's got in store for us this week.
Two things to that fight. I grabbed Thiago Moises by submission for a little hedge, little insurance bet. And I also took this fight to go over 2.5 rounds. You mentioned they might just burn the clock. When you see two competent grapplers, sometimes they will burn the clock a bit. They'll chase sub, they'll chase for control time, they'll hang it on the floor a little bit. They won't rush to get back to their feet.
A lot of ground game it mixed into this fight. I think Benoit's got the advantage on the feet, and he'd be wise to keep it there. But, they might just get caught up there.
Now, you took Farid Basharat and Volkan Oezdemir as well. Are you thinking Oezdemir? Where is he at in his career right now? He's getting a bit long in the tooth. We've seen him score a nice win over Paul Craig that aged quite nicely, but he's got a couple losses recently.
Oezdemir is basically just a good, solid, half-reliable vet that I'm taking in this against Bogdan, who's just making his debut. Bogdan has first-round wins, second-round wins, first-round loss, but nothing else. No volume, no cage time, and no big experience. And I think Oezdemir is going to show him the ropes and treat him like a rookie in this fight. So I'm more so just kind of fading Bogdan there with a reliable vet.
Let's see if this is Volkan Oezdemir proving himself to be reliable, if he can get a couple of wins under his belt again.
Yeah, for sure. And Farid Basharat, with the Basharat boys, I'm going to ride with them. I think they're taking the UFC by storm. They have great style, great confidence, and a lot of talent between the two of them. Farid, the younger brother of the two, is just going to show out. and be absolutely dominant. Now, Clayton Rodriguez is going to be a pretty decent matchup for him. Clayton's also a young guy out of the Dana White Contender Series. Lost by split decision his last go out there. And he's not in a rush to push for the rankings. He's only about 27 or so. And same with Farid. He's 26, 27 or so. But this one, you can actually see a rematch coming in a couple of years if both of the guys kind of stay up in the rankings. Both of them seem to be moving up at their own pace there as well.
Really poised for success in that young age, not quite into their prime yet. So every time you see them come out, you can expect them to maybe fix some holes, get a little bit sharper. They don't get chipped away and decay into their prime. They surge into their prime.
Yeah, for sure. I'm expecting a bit of a long fight here. It's probably going to go to the distance, as most of Farid's fights have been going. And Clayton's a tough guy. He's just going to stand there and take it and dish it out as well.
Now, your last pick, you took Jocelyn Edwards. You will concede Jocelyn Edwards has kind of stolen a couple of her last fights, a couple split decisions that were pretty squeaky. But you think she's going to pull it off again this week?
I think she's going to pull it off. And it's more so her opponent, Nora, making her debut, coming off of these first and second round finishes, and then coming in and fighting basically a veteran here. You know, Jocelyn Edwards, she's still pretty young for the experience that she has. She's getting better. She's got the cardio. She can last in there. I don't think she's going to get knocked out, and I think that's Nora's number one way to victory here. I think she's going to outlast her, point striker on the feet. If she gets taken down, she's going to be in a bit of a trouble. I'm hoping that she's improved her ground game since last time around, where she kind of stole the fight from Lucy Podilova. But that's kind of how it's trending. I'm big on Jocelyn Edwards this week, and I really think that she's going to probably win by decision.
I think you're kind of highlighting the path requires takedown defense. So we've seen her point fight. She's got cage time. She knows how to work the judges, how to work the exchanges to squeak that out. But if she's getting taken down, that's going to be really hard to beat back on the scorecards. I don't care how long you can ish. The takedown and the control time is really hard to overcome.
It is. It really is, especially when you're flat on your back like she tends to be. So she doesn't really have much of a fight from her back at all. So I'm looking forward to seeing her improve on that part of her game this week. And besides that, I don't know Nora to be maybe a grappler, really. You see these first round finishes by punches in different lower divisions, and I just don't think that they could swing it as opposed to Jocelyn Edwards really can. Besides that, we got a couple of fights were shuffled around. We got a really low draft coming at you this week. There's only 11 fights on the card. 9 of them are drafted because 2 shuffled opponents. So we got a lot of debuts going on in UFC France this week. We got a couple of guys making re-debuts. Reese McKee went 0-2 in his first stint when he was 25 in the UFC, and Lapalus is making a re-debut after about 6 or 7 years off. Got cut after going 3-1, went to boxing for a bit. Now he's coming back to UFC France. His opponent dropped out, and they shuffled around a couple of fighters there to keep him on the card. So looking forward to see both of these guys come back after getting cut out of the UFC, young age, and coming back in, seeing what they learned on their time off.
It's a nice card. You said that we might see the clock burn a bit. So, Thiago Moises, Benoit Saint-Denis, 2.5+ rounds. We're going to see this one go long. Jocelyn Edwards, I'll ride with Jocelyn Edwards. A little $5 money line on Jocelyn Edwards. And then Sergey Spivac by knockout at +740. Sergey Spivac, the submission is there for him, but honestly, the TKO from holding position and just working the guy down is always there. And I think Spivac will want to let the hammer fists go. I don't think he's going to get technical and chase a submission against Cyril Gane.
Yeah, I think you're right. And those odds are blown out. You take the 8.4 odds on Spivac by KO in the heavyweight division. I'm going to take that all day long. He's only a 2.5 odds underdog. So, I mean, it's pretty decent odds that you're grabbing right there. I do also like the main going over 2.5 rounds. That's plus money there. It's plus 130 there. And I think both guys are just going to waste their time, and we're going to see Spivac just hugging and just trying to diminish the separation between the two fighters and remove Gane's advantage on the feet there. Besides
No,
that,
I don't want to watch that fight, dude. I don't want to watch Sergey Spivak on the cage lay and pray for 25 minutes, but that's a real possibility.
yeah, and with the way that I've seen Cyril Gane's last few fights, I feel like he would be content just to accept the clinch and just sit back and try and do some body knees or side head elbows or whatever he's feeling at the time there.
Now, other half for me for some betting picks. I took Nama Yunus by decision. I'm doing a little hedge there. I think Rose could steal that fight.
I definitely don't want to touch that one by decision. I kind of like, Thug Rose to move up in weight class, keep a little bit more power, and surprise us all with a knockout this weekend. She's knocked out Whaley. She's knocked out Joanna Jacek. Yeah, I think that she really could do it. She's learning from her past fight. She's only about 30, 31 or so she's still just entering into her prime. She's already been a champ.
I guess.
There's a case
to
be
really
made.
On the Rose knockout hype train right now?
I don't think I'm going to gamble on it. I'm just saying I can kind of expect it.
If I had to pick between what's going to happen, I think the odds of Thiago Moises subbing Benoit Saint-Denis is a timeline I could be in. I don't think Rose by knockout is going to happen, but that's just me.
Yeah, and there's only 3 rounds that she's got to work with too. So, at when she's fighting at a championship level, you drag out the fight. You got 5 rounds to work it. You don't know if she's going to get caught early.
It could happen. I'm not going to say it's not going to happen. And on that note, I bought insurance against Morgan. Morgan's a heavy favorite. Sprinkle a couple of bucks on the other side of that line just to be safe on that fight, because I didn't watch no tape on that one. I just ran money line with that pick.
Yeah, and that's pretty much all the picks that I had, except I would bet on Farid Basharat by money line. You just got to find something to parlay with. That's all.
Follow us on Twitter at Shed2Ed. Check us out on YouTube at Shed2Ed. NFL is back. Season 6 will continue. Back for the NFL draft next week.
Yeah, let's go, baby. I'll be posting some pics on Twitter because we don't have the picks lined up for this video quite yet. So I'll be posting them on Twitter. I'll be posting them on Instagram and the stories. So be sure to follow us, turn on notifications, and see it when they drop. Let's go, baby.